Hello, it's been a while. Welcome to the SLTP, aka the Secret Lurkana Testing Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Edgar. I've got four other fine gentlemen with me. We've got Fumbles, we've got R2, we've got Pandemonium. Sorry, you had Joseph Quigley in your bottom left, and I'm like, damn it, what's his name
Joey
again?
Q.
I don't remember. And then we have Dave. Hi, Dave.
How's it going, everybody?
You might actually know him as Attack for Two, but we just know him as Dave. He's Dave.
Listen, man, another Dave won an event
I was
this
just
weekend.
actually about to say he's Dave, but he's not the Dave.
Ink Inc was won by the Dave.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
Dave.
Dave. Yeah.
No relation.
The definitive Dave. I was going to take a sip of a beer as I was about to talk. That's a bad idea. Okay, it's been a while. I'm going to be drinking it during the podcast, just not like as I'm in the middle of the intro spiel. When did we last record? Was it pre-rotation? Fabled was announced, DLCs were announced, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so I guess some news since. All right, let's walk through it. So everyone in this call is going to Milwaukee, yes? We all got tickets. We all survived the absolute fiasco was the initial ticket sales, and then the follow-up, ticket sales. That's all sorted out.
Having
rotation
a fire
happened.
call in the middle of the ticket sales. That was a crazy day.
Sorry, you had a what? Like a fire in your
I had
apartment
to go
or your
to
dorm?
the scene. No, I'm a journalist, and I had to go to the scene of a fire as everything was happening.
Today I learned
a
Joseph
crazy
was the
day.
journalist. I didn't know that. Did anyone know that?
Oh yeah. That's common
knew
lore.
it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do I just suck? Okay,
You
cool.
you got to subscribe to the Pandemonium lore.
Okay, I gotta go figure that out. I'll deal with that later. I'm gonna go do some Googling later. Anyway, yeah, so we're all going to Milwaukee. Rotation happened. A couple tournaments happened. A couple cards have reached a lot of like high dollar value. Dave was in Poland, played some cool events that were probably
the coolest Ravensburger sponsored event that nobody knows about ever. And I'm here to talk about it.
So I guess to go in order. So the types of things that we want to talk about. So we don't want to talk about DLC Milwaukee just yet. We'll probably talk a little bit about it at the end. Because spoiler alert, again, we're all going. Is anyone who doesn't know? There's very few people in SLTC not going to Milwaukee, correct? Like you could probably count on one hand who's not going.
Yeah, it's like the retired folks or the people who don't play the game.
I'm pretty sure that everybody who wanted to go got a ticket.
Yeah, so that's cool. So don't worry about that. If you listen to the podcast, want to meet us or talk to us, sweet, we'll be there. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about Milwaukee later. I guess in order of sequence of events, we should probably talk about Dave's Poland event first. We should probably then talk about rotation, and then talk about how the last couple of tournaments in the meta have gone. And full disclosure, my baby is asleep, but if sometime I'm all of a sudden just like gone, it's probably because she woke up. So
Same.
Let's do this. All right.
Yeah, when Dylan's baby wakes up, Dave's gonna leave.
Cross fingers for sleepy babies.
I hope so. My wife's in her master's class, which is also a reason why I could do the podcast. So perfect.
All right, Dave. So let's hear it. You went to Poland. What'd they do?
Yeah, so I got some family in Poland, and we go every year to visit. And this year it happened to sync up with the Ravensburger sponsor. I don't even know the name of the event.
Happened to sync up, honey. I had no idea this was happening.
But anyway,
honey.
so I was there for it. So I knew nothing about it other than I got my sister-in-law who lives in Poland and could navigate Polish websites to get me a ticket. And then Saturday I showed up with RB Shark, and that was it.
Hold on.
Saturday.
How did you show up, Dave?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Did you meet someone random and they drove you to the tournament?
No, that was on the way
that's
home.
how I got home.
That's how you got home. Okay.
On the way there, I got my family was going to Warsaw, and I just hitched a ride, and they dropped me off.
Okay, never mind. Keep
I showed up,
going.
knew nothing about it. 180 person tournament sponsored by Ravensburger. Ravensburger people were there. I sit down with Sharks. They go over through the player meeting in Polish, so I don't know what's going on. At some point, everybody groans. And I was like, what's going on? At the players meeting, I talked to the guy next to me, and he's like, they announced, because Ravensburger Play Hub doesn't work, that it's going to be best of 3 instead of 2-game format, because Melee dropped 2-game format. So I was
That's
like,
great.
that sounds better.
That sounds good.
Sounds
I'll
great to
take it.
me.
So the event starts. I win. I win round 1. I lose round 2. So like it's already on skates. I'm like talking to my family about coming to get me so I can go home. And then they're like, "All right, we're gonna draft." And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And they were like, "We're gonna draft Raid of Jafar." And I was like, "Right now, round 2, round 3?"
So,
and they're like,
so it started off with two rounds of constructed,
3 rounds of draft, 2 rounds of constructed was the event.
Wow.
Interesting.
So,
In the middle. That's
so we
wild.
draft Raid of Jafar, and while we're sitting there, the Ravensburger guy comes over to me and he's like, "Do you know what you're doing?" And I was like, "I've drafted before." And he's like, "Do you know the new format?" And I was like, "No." Explain. So he's like, "You can either play 40 cards with all 6 colors, or you can play a 30 card deck and play 4 colors. But if you do that, you have to disclose to your opponent the 2 colors that you're not playing."
Okay.
Right. And so if you think about it, you get 4 packs, right? So if you play a 40 card deck, you can only cut 8. And so you're playing a lot of garbage.
Yeah. One of my biggest complaints with draft in Lorcana as a whole.
Yeah. And so it's been 2 weeks since then, so I don't really remember the particulars. At some point if somebody wants to find my draft deck, I did post a picture of it on Twitter and in SLTC.
Hold on, I'll see if I can find it.
But so anyway, it was really cool because like when by the first 2 packs, like you've solidified your colors, right? And at this point, if your third pack has like a bomb in it, you're like, if I pick it, I risk, like a good dual colored card. You're like, I risk having to play 40 cards and put 9 garbage cards into my deck in order to play this one bomb. And rounds 3, 4, and 5 were all within the draft pod, right? So like there were 8 of us that drafted. The only people you could play for the next 3 rounds were in your draft pod. And our draft packs were terrible. There was nothing going around. So like I very quickly after like the first pack went around, I was like, nobody's going to have a good deck. But probably by the time the second pack went around, I was like, nobody's going to have a good deck. You can't play 40 cards. You got to play 30. So anyway, I ended up 3-0ing the draft because I mostly just I had all the good evasives, including the shift line. Yeah, so Luis was my first 2 picks.
Can I rotate this?
And then
I'm getting it rotated.
Yeah, I ended up getting the Shift Jasmine line and a Shift Gogo line, and then the Shift Lumiere line. None of those are really great in like normal formats, but Gogo, Tamago, and Lumiere are both evasives and like in this format. And Light Diffuse was like the best card in the deck for sure. And so like I shifted Jasmine onto a few times. Luis killed a lot of little guys, and then I won with evasive. So I ended up going 3-0.
So just real quick, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, so in case it wasn't clear, Dave went for the 4 ink 30 card deck route, which, full disclosure, based on those 2 rules, I guess, Dave, quick question before we go any further. How many opponents did you play against that played 40 cards of your 3?
No, 0 played 40 cards. And then the following weekend, I played this draft format again, and again, 0 opponents had
like the thing to keep in mind is that you're doing 2 things by cutting down to 30 cards. Number 1, you cut less garbage, which means your deck has more options to find the playable cards. But then the second thing that you're doing is you get to draft. Like there's 2 things that kind of compound. If other people are starting to build their decks as if they're playing 30 cards and 4 colors, one of the best things about Magic Draft is that I've always hated about Lorcana Draft is in Lorcana Draft there's no decisions, except in this format. You open pack, you find best card, you pick best card because you can play all ink. There's scenarios. Remind me, Dave, is it 8? Is it still 8 per pod? So there are scenarios where if Dave and one other person are the only ones playing blue, normally blue is awful. Maybe there's a chance that some blue duels or blue cards get passed to Dave because they're no longer taking the best card. So you get more opportunities for good cards because people are playing less colors of ink, but you also play less cards in your deck, which means the more powerful cards you have, you see more often. But anyway, so back to the comment. So he's
the
playing
other thing that
blue,
was cool
steel,
was that
green, and red.
in pack 4, I opened the 7-cost Hades.
The red purple one.
Yeah, which obviously isn't in my deck. I'm not playing purple, so I had to pass it. And then in the last round of draft, I was playing against the person I passed the Hades to, and they were playing red and purple, and I was like, they have this Hades. And that Undermine that's tucked under the Light Diffuse discarded Hades in 2 games.
That's awesome,
That's
though.
nuts.
Like, those are the types of things that I love about draft. And, like,
Yeah.
you get, like, for those of you, so exactly what Dave made a comment to, like when you play traditional drafts, you get to see what cards get passed. And there's scenarios where Dave just talked about. So, like, in Magic, if I'm in the first 2 packs, I'm playing red-green, and I open this, like, busted white card or busted blue card, maybe I can try to splash it into my deck, or I can switch to that color, but there's a chance that I have to pass it. But the cool part about passing it is if you know who you passed it to, you get to play around those cards. So anyway.
Or you can hate draft as well.
Yeah.
Or you can hate draft.
So that's also
I did hate draft 2 different pull the levers.
But yeah, that's good to just grab those.
Because I was they were mid-lane picks. I had already more or less secured that I was going to be able to play 30 cards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want any opponent to have pull the lever, so I'm just going to take it. The other thing that was cool was, like, particularly with the Jasmines, one of those Jasmines and the Shift Jasmine were in the same pack. I picked the Shift Jasmine and tabled the Little Jasmine, which was like something that
right, because who's going to pick the Little Jasmine, right?
Yeah. So anyway, draft is over. I'm now 4-1. It's a 180-person tournament. I'm expecting it to be 8 rounds. And then they're like, you have 2 rounds left. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. That's 1 round short. But I can't ask questions because, most people, I mean, everybody spoke like Lorcana English, but not like, I don't know what's going on. Can somebody explain it to me in English? And so anyway, I win the next round, 5-1, and then I lose round 7, 5-2. And they're like, see you tomorrow. And I was like, what happened? And they're like, we cut the top 64 and you have to come back tomorrow. So I was like 18th place at that point, thinking I was dead and like was going to go home. So anyway, at that point, I take a $125 Polish Uber back to my in-laws' house, which is, close to an hour away. Wake up the next morning, hop on a train, go all the way back. There are like 5 more rounds of constructed. So that instantly made the event very weird because it's supposed to be an 8-round event, but it ended up being 12. So there's 4 extra rounds. The records are going to be all wonky. So at that point, at 5-2, I felt pretty confident that 9-3 was going to make top 8. So I needed to go 4-1 on the next day. So I win the first round of day 2. I lose the next round of day 2 to an Amber Steel player who made top 8. I then win the next 2. I get a win in against another one of the better Polish players. His online handle is like Dominex. He won the big event that was in Madrid like a month prior to this event. I didn't recognize the name because I don't really I wasn't paying attention to non-DLC European events. Had I been paying attention, I would have known that he was on like Goofy Amber Steel, and I perhaps might have been a little bit more prepared. But anyway, I lose my win and finish 13th place, get a box, get a play mat, get a pin, get some sleeves. And it was a good event. It was cool. The coolest part though was the top 8 did the draft again, but it was Fabled draft. So this is the week before Fabled came out. But so I'm really bummed that I missed out on this event.
That's wild.
Yeah, but the 2 Amber Steel players that beat me on day 2 met in the finals. And they were on the same team. I think the team is like M7, Mulligan 7. Is their Polish name. They're I suspect that we'll see a lot of them. They were very good. I actually just played against Dominic's today on the the simulator. So it's still actively grinding. But really cool event. Glad I got to take part in it. A little bummed I missed the top 8.
Do you know if any of them mentioned this format going out to more events?
Well, I didn't I don't know that, but the next weekend, Fabled released, and there are pre-releases in stores, and in all of the stores in Poland, the draft format was the new one.
Interesting.
So I played it again. I got to do the exact same thing. In Fabled Draft, I went 3-0 in my Fabled Draft pod in the little release event the next weekend. But I have seen 0 publications about this event anywhere. And
Maybe that's
I don't
by
know that
design.
anybody outside of the 180 people in Poland that played Lorcana know about it either. But it was cool. When I tweeted about it, I got some likes from Ravensburger employees.
Yeah, because we've done some drafts already at my LGS, and they're definitely not like providing this information to stores in the States, at least.
Maybe it's like a trial run.
It sounds
until they
like it.
push it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So if I recall correctly, when they had their big announcement of in the last D23, was it? Their last big panel, I forget exactly, or GenCon, it was GenCon. They had, for the set 10 talk of like winter or whatever it's called, they mentioned specifically about how draft is going to be special in set 10 or something like that, if I'm recalling.
They were making improvements to the draft process that
and
they
I
would be announcing.
have to wonder if that might be this, and the plan might have been to trial it there, and set 10 might be where they do a wider rollout based on whatever feedback they got from this trial. That's speculative, complete speculative. I have no insider knowledge. It's just a thought.
Well, and when they came out with the 2-game format, that was also a European-based operation of that's who came up with it. So it's possible that they just have like a, for lack of a better term, an R&D group over in Europe that's just running with different ideas.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things about the format was that with 30 card decks, decking is a really legitimate concern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right, you guys have probably played limited Lorcana or Magic, where like you're trying to find your removal spell, and for the most part, you're just staring at each other. And eventually, somebody's like, "I have 2 cards left in my deck. How many cards do you have left?" And you're like, "I have 4." They're like, "I need
a quest.
I need a quest right now."
Mm.
Because the game is
I wonder
really
if they'll do the pack rush rule at some point for that.
Yeah, I mean, I beat a Dumbo player in the Fable draft because they decked themselves. Just because like the one that they get, the board stalls and the removal were very sufficient.
Speaking of Dumbos.
Yeah. Anyway, the closing story. Dylan had mentioned how I got the story about getting home. So I didn't want to pay another $125 Uber to get home. And I was just happened to be talking to one of the Polish players, and he's like, "I'll give you a ride." And I was like, "Cool, what do you want?" And he's like, "Your Scar promo." So the picture was just posted. So I traded my Scar promo for a ride home.
Honestly, that's a decent deal.
Yeah, that seems like a good deal for you. Yeah.
I got home at 8 p.m. My in-laws are like, "What's going on? How did you get here?" So anyway, it was cool. It was a great event. I wish it had more coverage associated with it, and it was a really cool format.
Was the Fabled format pretty fun to draft? Because that's how it felt for me, even in the old draft
I found the limited environment to be very good. My sealed pool got derailed by a person who opened like 4 Nanis, not Nana, Nani.
Nani.
The amber,
and
the
then
3/5 amber card.
Well, then also the Steel Hades is also, or not Hades, sorry, Hercules.
Yeah.
Because he's uncommon now.
Yeah.
Bodyguard with resist.
In the sealed format, I had an opponent that just played Winnie the Pooh on turn 3 every time, and then just Nanas for the rest of the game. Turn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 6, just 3 6s for the rest of the game, and that was tough, but really cool. And then I haven't really played Lorcana since those 2 events. I just got back into the swing of testing things this week. Yesterday, actually, so I got a few matches in.
One thing I'm really interested in for the event is the mixture of constructed and draft. They did that for Worlds, of course. They didn't make that an element of announced in any of the DLC season, but it's interesting that they are trying to mix them up even at lower level events, and I suspect that it might be something that they're going to look at possibly in more events and possibly even in a DLC at some point.
I suspect that this draft format will replace whatever the sealed format was at Worlds.
Yeah, the super sealed. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, that was a nonsensical format.
How and
this
I
will be
know that
better.
other card games in their competitive circuits, they have mixture of limited and constructed, but I don't know to the extent of what that is. I didn't
Magic
ever
does, but I'm
participate.
not a Magic guy myself.
Yeah, Magic Grand Prix back in the day when they were doing the limited Grand Prix, the first day would be sealed, and if you went like 7-2 or better, you would come back the next day, and then they would do 2 separate drafts. So you would draft and then play 3 rounds and then draft.
Okay, so it was full limited. It wasn't like a mixture of limited and
There were
constructed.
like the Worlds formats were like
Oh, the Worlds
mixtures.
format.
I think
Okay.
there were some mixtures, but I'm not too sure.
But they
Pretty
did
cool.
have limited only Grand Prix that were.
I would
like,
love to have limited DLC. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it could be cool if they like designed the game around it. It would be cool.
Yeah. Well, and what the event Dave did, that at least sounds like a good start of that. That's at least more interesting to me as someone who wants to enjoy drafting, but picking the best card out of the deck and just putting it in and just cutting the 8 worst cards isn't really interesting right now.
The big difference and improvement that this format had over the previous ones is that there were cards you could open that you could not pick, which was cool. Because like normally Lorcana draft is just like open your pack, pick the removal spell or the biggest dummy, and pass the rest, right?
Or the most expensive card.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's always the first pick.
And so in that regard, having to actually and it was like signaling, right? Like at some point I knew, probably by the 3rd pack, I knew what colors were coming each direction, right? Because like I knew what the person next to me also couldn't pick. And like, sure, you can play you can play 2/3 of the colors, but it still allows some cards to free flow, like the Lewis's that I had in my deck. I was picking up a lot of good green cards because it was flowing in both directions to me. I got pretty lucky. Dumbo, we ready to talk about him?
I
We
want
all love Dumbo.
to talk about one thing just about draft real quick now that I'm back. So to put things into perspective, so in Magic you draft 3 packs with 15 cards each. It's probably closer to like 14 just because of lands or promos or whatever else. So let's call it 14. So it's 42 cards. A normal draft deck is 40 cards, but that's not true because you have an unlimited supply of lands to pick from, so it's probably closer to like 23. And a lot of the times you end up picking a Duel Link card, so let's just call it, or a Duel Link land, so let's just call it 24. So 24 in 42, you're looking at about 57% of the cards that you have to pick, you can play. Or sorry, that you pick, you can play. You get to choose not to play the rest. Before, when you had a 40 card deck, 40 out of 48, that's a lot in Lorcana. Like, that's like 83% of the cards you're picking have to be good. And let's be real, with the packs, like, there's some filler. Like, it's garbage sometimes.
I will say the Fabled experience is much different, even with just the old, the current rules of 40 card deck, cut 8. It already feels a lot better because the decks are just, these cards are all just better. With all the rarity downgrades, it's just a lot of better cards.
But to put things into perspective, so that 57-58% that I just talked about, if you're playing 30 cards with 4 packs, there's 12 in a pack, right? If I remember correctly? Yeah, so 48, 62%. So the number's a lot closer this way. And because you're picking 4 inks, I before we move on to Dumbos and everything else going on, I think this is a great move by Ravensburger and might actually let me be able to play limited, which is probably one of my favorite formats in Magic.
Yeah, it was great.
So, cool.
I'm a little jealous too. I haven't gotten to do any limited formats because I've just been traveling to events the last 2 weeks.
I'll be honest. When Dave said that it was the greatest format of all time, I just assumed he was trolling, and then he came back and he's like, "No, I had a blast. This is great." So
yeah, if anybody from Ravensburger listens to this and looking for advice, just lump all the constructed and all
Agreed.
of the limited together. The 2-3-2 was on day 1 was a pain.
I think the reason that they did it,
fair.
if I were to guess, is that they want constructed and limited to matter. If you did
Yeah.
all constructed at the beginning, you might not care about playing limited because you're either 0-4 or 4-0. If you do limited at the beginning, that's the way it is.
Yeah,
Now, having said that, for Pro Tours at Magic, it's all at the beginning, and it's like be good at limited or you don't get to do well at constructed.
Yeah, I would just put it at the beginning and spend the first hour drafting. And
I agree with that.
It's easier
Get good.
logistically too. Cool.
John, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Judge
Going
John.
good. Thanks for having me. It's my
Hey, John.
first time on here. Just
First time on, long time listener kind of thing.
yeah, that kind of thing. I don't know what to say.
Let's
Well, we're
how about
happy to
let's
have
talk about Fabled. Let's talk about rotation. So we had rotation happen.
Hmm.
We had what I would consider 3-4 largest tournaments since rotation. So we've had the 15 case, the SSG 15 case. We had the Invitational, or is that the same weekend?
That was Infinity format.
Oh, the Invitational itself was the Sunday Infinity format.
Yeah. So
And
we
the
had
Saturday-
SSG set 9. We had CCS set 9. We had
Ink Inc.
SCG had Orlando as well. That was set 9. So there's actually been a lot of events and some EU events as well. But
Yeah, sorry, I was
and
just talking about
Ink Inc.
NA, but there's been some
Yeah.
EU because there's Battle Bear and EU. There's a
Mhm.
couple other ones. Battle Bear was small. Most of the
Battle was small this time, yeah.
over 150 plus players have been in NA, right? Has there been an EU tournament with more than 100 players yet of set 9?
I wouldn't
I
know.
don't believe so.
I
I'm
don't
looking
think
right
so.
now.
Not
It
that I've
doesn't
heard
seem like
of.
it.
So, sorry, EU brethren. I know your time is coming. Unfortunately, your
they
DLC is
got
before
Bologna.
ours. Yeah, which is
Yeah, they got
sweet.
Bologna in like 20 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got stuff
they
coming up.
follow the rules over in Europe where we don't, right? So like the SSG one opening weekend is per like Ravensburger's release schedule supposed to be set 8 event, and there was the event in one of the Scandinavian countries in Europe that was the same
Malmo.
weekend,
Yeah,
but it was
Malmo.
just set 8 instead of set 9.
Oh,
So, like
gotcha.
they had a huge event the same weekend that we had a Fabled event. It just happened to be set 8.
But what they
That
don't
was
realize,
the DKP playing with his golden Mickeys.
but what they don't realize is that the actual biggest tournament was the SLTC in-house, which was won by Sir Joseph Quigley.
That's right.
Monster.
Well done.
That
So
was a good one.
before the rotation actually officially happened, not too long before, but like in the middle of during, we had an in-house, and the top 4 decks of our in-house was 2 green blue, a blue purple, and a purple steel, if I remember
Yep.
correctly, with
Yep,
green
yep.
blue winning. And then a bunch of tournaments happened, and I guess let's just talk about what our predictions were for the meta before we get into the tournaments. It was pretty clear to all of us Blurple was tier 1. I don't think anyone even had a shadow of a doubt that deck was not going to be good.
As soon as like it was Hades and the Bell was just like
Yeah, the
like
Bell was,
cherry
like, a
on
huge
top,
one.
because like that too.
Well, because we were playing, sorry, is it Pain or is it Panic? Which was
Panic
the
for a bit, yeah.
Yeah, Panic. So Panic was the Bell, and then Bell came, and we're like, okay, well, we'll just play Bell. There was rumors that Fox and Popsicle were coming back for a little bit there. Dave was a staunch anti-Popsicle believer. Our Discord ended up being broken into 2 camps of the we believe Pop is coming back, or they don't believe Pop is coming back.
Forget the puzzle series.
The
That was,
puzzle
they were
theorists.
strong.
Oh my
the
god.
best 2 weeks of the Discord for sure.
Long live puzzle theory.
Oh
Long
my
live
God,
puzzle
puzzle theory.
Muses is
Oh.
coming. She's coming back eventually.
Dave, are we able to talk about the outcome of your betting with one of the other players? Has that
Oh.
happened yet?
With LD?
Yeah. Has a shoe
That-
been eaten?
No, he's
Oh,
not
yeah.
supposed to eat a shoe. He's supposed to change his name on social media to LD Sapphire Enjoyer.
Ah,
I don't believe he's done that yet.
I don't think
no,
I've
not
seen
yet.
that
He
yet.
did tweet
Oof,
that
call
he's
him out.
changing from a blue steel main to a blurple main, but
No, he changed. He changed from the Red Blue's biggest hater to Blurple's biggest hater.
oh, that's what it was, right?
All right, so I just threw up on screen. This is what LD and Artifax did in their Articast.
How long ago was this?
This was
Like a couple weeks ago.
the
Okay.
25th of August, so like what, 2 weeks? And I think this was kind of where most of our heads were at going into Fabled.
Yeah, I think all of us knew that like the two decks that all of us were starting with, and it's no secret to anybody, is blue, purple, and amber steel. Tiana aggro looked ridiculous. We were waiting for Brawl to get reprinted to maybe bring it down a notch. That never happened.
Or Kit.
Or Kit, like,
Yeah, Kit.
or Fox, because some people thought Fox was coming back, and those people were crazy. Popsicle believers and puzzle theorists, we were only a little crazy. Anyone who thought that Fox was coming back, you're nuts.
Okay,
Fox was never coming
In
back.
fairness, there were rumblings about like people who were like in the know that like Fox was actually coming back, and clearly there was some broken telephone that happened.
100%.
Yeah,
inside the
Yeah,
game.
well, you could easily broke a
loungers.
telephone with that power line. That power line 3 cost is basically Fox kind of thing.
I feel like that's probably
So,
exactly what happened.
That's probably what happened.
But there's also the rumors that there was a fixed Zeus that was coming out where it was a 4-cost uninkable deal 4 instead of deal 5. Those rumors were spreading around. There was some weird stuff
the
going around.
4-cost board wipe.
Yeah, the
whatever
4-cost red board wipe where it's like
Yeah.
under
Yeah, I
2
remember that
strength
one.
or something for everybody. I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, back to the comment. Blue, purple, amber, steel. Everyone was kind of starting that day one. We did our in-houses.
I think looking at this chart, I think everybody was kind of like, red's probably pretty doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can figure out a green list, and we kind of knew the obvious top 3.
Well, purple steel kind of came into be like most of us kind of assumed purple steel was going to be decent, but we didn't know that it was going to join amber steel. At least I didn't initially. It made sense to me where like purple was the best card, steel had the best removal. It made sense that there was a purple steel deck there. It's just initially the purple steel deck was crushing the amber steel deck and just could not beat blue purple. But over time, you just added more and more genies to the deck, aka Treasure Guardians or Dolores or Yzmas, and that started to bring the Blurple matchup a lot closer.
The purple steel deck list day one versus where it is now, I think had like the biggest transformation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes and no. It kind of went in a cycle.
Okay.
I think some of the early versions were like, okay, we want a lot of good drawing, we want to be double spelling, and then we kind of went on a journey and lost it and kind of looped back to it.
I mean, my journey started with illusions.
Those are still there.
And
right?
those are still there, but I was a lot heavier into illusions. So I was running Treasure Guardians at the very beginning, and I was running Palace Guards and Rajas and Cobras. But I was also running Iagos and Jafars, and those cards quickly realized that those were crap. And then I
did
started
hear that
playing.
somebody went on a really deep run at CCS with Jafar though. Like they were like 5-1 at some point, I think. Who
Good for them.
knows?
Did what I could not.
Really? I'll have to go check that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually stuck the landing, but I heard something like.
Yeah.
I'll go check.
So anyway, so a lot of us were playing random versions of Blurple at the beginning. We were trying everything from the Mouse Queen, Basils were in and out. We were trying, at one point, we were trying to figure out a Sorcerer's list. I don't even remember what that, is it Find the Hex Crown or Assemble the Hex Crown? What's that 2-cost?
Seeking the Hex Crown?
Seeking the Hex Crown,
gosh.
where it reduces its cost based on how many sorcerers you have in play. Spoiler alert, there's a lot of actually pretty decent sorcerers in blue-purple.
And Rafiki's a sorcerer.
It wasn't that far-fetched, but it was
If
far-fetched.
it was inkable, we'd be doing it.
100
Absolutely.
it would be a 4 of.
Wouldn't be a 4 of, no.
We're just all dreaming of friends again. That's all.
We
Pete,
all
you
want
and I
fun.
were exploring green-purple for a little bit, and that quickly was like, this is not doing as...
I know that Dave was pretty high on green purple for a bit as well.
Yeah, those were pre-vacation vibes. If we took this list now, I think I would take green blue and move it up one with the top 3.
Yep.
I would agree.
Let's
And then
go.
I would take green purple and green steel and move them down and move red purple up. And that leaves you with 7 decks, right? So you have the top row of purple steel, amber sapphire, and emerald sapphire, and then the next row would be red purple, amber emerald, and blue steel, and those are the 7 decks you could conceivably register for the event. I think you would need a really compelling reason not to register one of those top 4. I think going forward, this is going to be green blues format. That's what I was playing today, and I was destroying people.
So I have been converted. Joseph crushed me in the in-house. I've been playing a lot of purple steel, and I finally was playing a little bit of the deck. My first forays into it were pretty discard heavy, but I started switching into a little bit more of the control heavy builds, and I went with a couple Baymaxes and the full 4 Under the Seas, and I've been loving the deck. Like green blue I'm having an absolute blast with it. I know that there's a lot of people. So I'm in agreement with Dave, where my top 4 is purple steel, amber steel, blue purple, green blue. And I think I'm in agreement that my second row is like green yellow, blue steel. I'm in between green steel and red purple existing in that third tier. I think there's a green steel Chromacon deck that exists. You can make the argument that red purple flinger dingers or something in that capacity or evasives probably exists. I think those are the 8.
There
to
was
my
a
opinion.
green steel list that started off 6-0 at CCS.
Yeah, and it was amber. It was with Emerald Chromacon as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot how high they finished.
Technically,
but they did
Blue
well.
Steel would have made top 8 of the SSG event too, but PlayHub crapped out.
Oh, right, yeah, that whole thing happened, yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a buddy who had a pretty good blue steel run. He was on a winning in at Ink Inc.
Steve and I were trying to build a blue steel list, but it just wasn't. I wasn't having nearly as much fun as I was with the green blue. But anyway, I'm in agreement with Dave. To me, there's a top 4.
Yes.
There's a mid 4, and then there's everything else. And notice that there's really only one deck, and you have to have a very good reason to not play the top 4 to play it. That's red. If you're not, and you have to pair it with purple, which is what everyone is clamoring is the best color. Some are even clamoring for bans. I won't get into that. No, there will not be bans this format. This format is fine. Well, there's no
you
bans.
have to also remember, this is a 10-week format. This is the shortest set we've ever had. And if I did some mapping out of what they could do for a cadence, so this could look like what it goes forward of. We have a rotation set of a 10-week, then we have 3 new sets of 14 weeks, and then it goes back to the rotation set of 10 weeks.
So
math.
I'm gonna hop off in a minute, but I just want to briefly touch on my whether or not this is a good format or something like that. So to me, obviously, right, we would want if I were a game designer, a developer, I worked for Ravensburger, I would want all 6 colors to be represented at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Ideally.
Well, real quick, I think their comment was they aim for 3 meta decks. Is that what they said?
Yeah. And ideally, you would hope that they would
be split across,
colors, right? Like
sure.
if you were a Ruby player, like I played red purple for 2 years. I now found that the red part was pretty important to me. I'd like these purple.
Go figure the removal was important, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's like I just like hitting stuff. Like bring Maui back,
Yeah.
I want to wax.
Bring beat back.
But like to me, the other so like outside of the colors, right? The temples are like, can you play an aggro deck? Can you play mid range decks? Can you play control decks? Is there a combo deck available? And to me, like this format, like I don't know that Lorcana really has combo decks. Like you could go to in the Infinity format to like the item piles, and like for sure they're definitely combo adjacent, but they like also are like control deck.
The red blue Tamatoa time decks are the closest thing to combo.
Yeah, like purple steel is a fairly aggressive color. I think yellow green, like the dog style versions of the deck, amber steel for sure is an aggressive color pairing. I personally don't consider purple to be like a control deck. I think it's just like the top of the mid-range pile.
Yeah, top of the mid-range for sure.
And so like, purple steel, like the elephant piles are definitely
aggressive mid-range.
They're on the aggressively slanted mid-range style, and then all the purples can also kind of be aggressive leaning, and then they can go, very, very greedy with like the second star builds that people are playing now. And so like those boxes are all checked. And then I think the other question is like, is the gameplay compelling? And to me, the answer is yes. And so we're looking at a tweet from Chris Anderson, well-respected player, I think out of Indianapolis, if I recall correctly from my conversations with him.
I believe so.
And so, like, what he's talking about Tiago here, same person winning two major events is usually a sign. He says of a good format, right? But I think what he means probably is like a skill expressive format, right, where the better players are winning. And for sure, that's, I think, true of this format. And so a lot of the boxes are checked for it to be a good format. And like the one that it's missing is like, are all the color, all colors equally represented? And right now the answer is no, right? Red is for sure a very distant color.
And then even green a little bit.
Yeah, I think
without
green
being the green
needs
blue,
time.
I think green's
I agree. Green needs time.
Right?
So
green's got very powerful cards, the like Max Goose and the new set. Like give people some time to cook with that, and like I think
some
it'll show up. And like even amber is like fairly distant behind like blue, blue, purple, and steel.
I think amber's in a better spot than the green and red because it has amber, steel, and the dogs, right? It has the S tier and the A.
Yeah,
but I think if we were like fast forwarding to Milwaukee, right, like the best players in the game right now they haven't started grinding yet, right? Like when we get 2 weeks out from Bologna, and that's when like the real work is going to start.
So one thing I'll say about the health of the format that I think could be an interesting argument, at least based on these past 2 weekends, is the blurple numbers. Now, I don't think either of the major tournaments published what the deck breakdown was for the overall event, but I think most people's experience this past weekend was in 9 rounds, you were playing 5 to 7 blurples.
Did you see the top 14 of the Ink Inc?
I forget what it was. What was it on Ink Inc?
4 amber steels and 10 blurples.
And then the 2 not including that was a blue steel and a red purple.
15th and 16th were red purple and blue steel.
Who swiftly then lost.
So even though we have, in theory, 4 tier 1 decks, it was very clear what everybody's favorite and what they thought the best deck was blurple.
Can I
now? So go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say, now it's possible that the other tier 1 decks were underrated. I certainly think green blue was, and that's going to change in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
It's still blurple's kind of format, and there is an argument that there is probably too much blurple to be the healthiest. I think the format's still fine. I think it's still pretty fun, and there are at least other decks you can play. But it is a little obnoxious just how much blurple there is.
I do want to... Oh, no, go ahead, Dave.
Just to play devil's advocate, blurple was like the most obvious deck coming into rotation.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Like, you could build that in your sleep. Like, we talked about the fact that going into this tournament, going into this rotation, going into life itself, blurple was the easiest deck to say this is surviving. Why? Because Sail and Tipo, like, there was a blurple deck that existed before where your play pattern was turn 1, whatever, turn 2, Sail or Tipo, turn 3, 4-drop, whether it be Genie or Iago, into turn 5, either Belle or Elsa, into turn 6, whatever, into turn 7, Hades. That entire play pattern still exists post-rotation. And so the 2 decks that were the easiest to build are Blurple and Amber Steel aggro, and people, for whatever reason, hate playing aggro decks. Especially in Lorcana, like realistically, like they want decisions, they want play patterns, they want this illusion of choice, whether it is there or not, right? Blurple allows you to do that. The other thing people love doing, people hate having 0 cards in their hand. What deck draws probably the most amount of cards in the format right now? It's Blurple.
I think it's purple steel.
Have you sang Second Star on the right?
One of them has a draw 5 and the other doesn't.
Yeah, the Second Star builds, sure. But I think over a course of games, I think purple steel can go deeper into a deck more often.
R2, Pete, the dopamine hit of draw 5 at
Dylan
once.
Freezes.
Oh, no.
People just want that shit. They crave it.
I just want to make a note that I won like 5 games today, all with us having under 10 cards. So like
that's crazy.
It's possible.
They're going longer as a thing, right? Like that's a big part of that.
So so to Dave's point, I agree. I think the reason, like, Blurple is powerful and Blurple was easy to build. The only downside to Blurple was the availabilities and price of Dumbos. And let's be real, the people that are going to these tournaments this early in the game, they're finding Dumbos. They're paying for Dumbos.
So Tiago is on a local team with me. We
Was
Is
Tiago, and to arm him for SSG, we all found Dumbos in our opening cases. We put them in a guy's mailbox that was on the way to Boston for him to fly out. He grabbed them and then went down. So
Yeah.
he had Dumbos because of that.
yeah.
Good
Because
stuff.
when he got down there, he was recounting that there were none to be seen.
Yeah, well, obviously, because it's
So
No, I'm
very
not playing
popular.
Riders instead, right?
my local team in Florida, going into the opening weekend, we had about 24 Dumbos between all of us. So we might have taken a good chunk of the Dumbos around there.
Well, even Zan's team in their podcast, they talked about how they had 3 players playing some amount of purple decks, and one person was like, "Well, we have no more Dumbos left, so I'll play Amber Steel." Cool.
Good on him.
But so, like, on the topic of the format health and the talk of a good format, Dave made a good comment. Like, even though we've been grinding since rotation, let's be real, the real grinding starts now. We had expectations of the meta. Now that we have seen the meta, it's 6 weeks till Milwaukee. We've got another in-house starting next week. We've got people coming back from holidays and vacation. The Discord is bumping. It's time. And Blurple is the easy thing to start with, but I truly believe what Dave just said is true in that the format has a lot to develop, and I think Green-Blue is actually the best deck in the format.
I'm so
So-
happy.
two more points. The first is like, so right now I'm following 2 games. I play in Lorcana,
Oh, yeah,
and then adjacently I'm like waiting for Riftbound to come out, but Riftbound is out in China, and they are having major events like every weekend. You know, my good friend, and I think almost everybody on the podcast here knows George is out there.
Go,
He
George!
just won
Killing
the 3rd
it.
event. Right. So like there's a lot of parallels between the Riftbound format that they have now and the Lorcana metagame that we have post set 9, where one deck is 30 to 40% of the room and doing well, and yet you would expect to play it against it, right? And so
Is
like
that the Kaisa deck?
No,
Yeah, it
Master.
is.
Oh, it is. I thought
Kaisa
Master Yi was the most popular.
Is dominating the Chinese circuit. And
Okay.
it has won all 3 major events. So
Oh,
like
wow.
the
Okay.
difference between what's happening in Riftbound and what's happening in Lorcana is that like Kaisa is overrepresented and it's winning all the events. Whereas
Yeah, which
like
isn't the same for Blurple. Blurple's not always winning the events.
yeah, Blurple,
It hasn't.
right? There were 2 big events this weekend, and at least well, the 2 that I'm
It
thinking
was
of,
Purple Steel and Amber Steel, right?
CCS and Ink Inc. Those were the 2 largest. Blurple was overrepresented in them, but they didn't win them, right? So there are at least chinks in that armor. Whereas in some like to me the format, like if Blurple needed correction, like to me it's like you show up with Purple thinking it's going to be the best deck, and then it is, right? Everybody's targeting it and it wins anyway, right? At least in Lorcana format that we have, people are targeting it and they're successfully beating it.
I don't know about Ink Inc, but I'm pretty confident that Green Blue had by far the highest conversion rate at CCS's main event.
I think
Yeah, so
CCS
the
also
sheet
had.
I have on the screen right now is 6 of the tournaments that happened this past weekend. Green Blue Control had one of the best conversion rates into a top cut, and that's largely from CCS.
Yeah, and CCS I think had some of the better green, blue, or control players there.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
But also on top of that, on the topic of Blurple had high representation in top 16 or top 8. The top 4 of CCS was Purple Steel, Green, Blue, and 1 Blurple, right? Like
I believe
it
so.
was like Blurple is a very good deck. There's no arguing that.
And the green blue deck that Jeremy and Zan were running was different than what like
Everyone
Joseph
else was
and
running.
Sailor were running.
Yeah.
Yes, that one's going to
Not
be
like
very
wildly different,
interesting.
still control, but there were like
I would argue
pieces
that
they
That's closer to mid range than control.
Yeah, no,
Silver
Dan's
Dragon.
list Dan
Yeah.
and Jeremy's list was definitely closer to mid range, and it's going to be an interesting conversation point going forward as far as the control build that I, Sailor, and some others were running. Cobblest made top 16 of it, and that more mid range build spamming the 5/5s. Now, Zan made an interesting adjustment on Sunday. where that list did not have bends on Saturday, and on Sunday that list had 2 bends, and I know that because I got bended and lost because of it.
Oh wow. Was he on 14 on Inkables then?
I don't know. I think he probably cut a Scrooge or 2 to accommodate that, is what I suspect happened. But he was clearly more mindful of the mirror, because bend is such a big mirror breaker. And if you're not on bend and they are, you can very easily lose because of it.
Well, and we're kind of seeing the same thing happen in the Blurple world, right? There's the more tempo helping hands build, and then there's the more control-y second star build. So people are starting to like poke at what's
Nuances.
the right tuning to get the edges in these mirrors and against the other lists.
Yeah, the Dave, the winner of the Ink Inc, right? He beat Blurple 3 times, so top 8, top 4, and in the finals on the draw.
Yep.
He also
Impressive.
played
Yeah,
it.
on the
I want
draw
to say
too.
I want to say he played it like 7 times in Swiss or something, like something crazy. I remember talking to him about it.
He was one of the few people playing Rapunzel's Tower. I don't even know if Kurt was playing it, and that's a Kurt special.
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't actually seen this list.
Yeah,
this
Kurt
had
was
this,
on
I heard about the
Amber
Snow
Steel,
White
too.
though.
This
I know
is the bold
I know
Snow
Kurt-
White.
I know Kurt was running
And
Amber Steel. I just wasn't
bodyguards.
sure if Kurt was playing Rapunzel's Tower this time.
Yeah, we can check that as well. But yeah.
Fascinating list this is.
Yeah, like this deck is very different than most of the other ones. Like this is very heavy on the I'm gonna put a bodyguard down, protect my Tiana, and just start questing.
So I've played against this a few times today. The most annoying things actually are the Prince and the Jim Deere.
Yeah.
So what happens in these lists is that you are able to set up yourself to basically either banish Tiana or control the board in some way, and then they play like a John Silver, so you can't challenge. Then they play 2 bodyguards, and you can't even break through that wall, and then you kind of just lose very quickly.
Yeah. A card that's also in here that hasn't seen a ton of play is the Snow White that can't be challenged. And in a meta with as little removal as we have, and in a deck that you want to remove the Tiana typically, like you're using your strengths or you're into the unknowns on Tiana, and now all of a sudden the Snow White is there and just questing away. Pretty hard to deal with, other than like maybe Bells at that point.
All right, Dylan, little fun game for you. What does I Won't Give In do?
I know this.
What
I
color
know
is
this.
it?
I know, teacher.
What color
I
is it?
know it, even though it's on screen.
It's in the deck right in front of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I can't read that, but
I know what that one is.
it gets stock out of your
Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
stock out of your discard.
Sorry,
Yep.
I know what I Won't Give In is. It's a 2-cost song, and then when you sing it, you get to look in your discard for a cost 2 or less and add it back to your hand. Yeah,
It's
I
a
get
good
Doc
choice,
back.
honestly. I can see it over BR Guest, just because like you can keep a dock in hand maybe, and then guarantee have it in discard later.
You'd probably also at points bring back Nala too.
For sure.
All right, guys, I got to drop off.
Sounds
All right,
good.
Dave, thanks for stopping by and giving us the rundown on that
you,
draft thing.
Bye,
See ya.
Dave. Yeah. I guess if we want to continue on the Amber Steel new cards being played train, Sky top 8'd Ink Inc as well. Shout out to Sky, shout out to Maelstrom, and they were playing a version that was running BR Guest, and they were running Troubadour, and what they were affectionately calling it was Truby Tuesday, which I think the name is hilarious and I love it. So we've got 16 ones because they're running the full 4 Mulans. Plutos, Rhinos, the whole ship package as well. And then they're running 2 Fire the Cans, 2 BR Guests, along with the Troubadour. And one of the cool things about the Troubadour, and they talked about this, was that it was a huge play on the draw. And it was one of like the cards to play on the draw. And like to give you a perspective into like what a play pattern looks like, if you go 1-drop into Troubadour and they play Tiana or they play a Genie on the play, you can go Lady, play a 2 or a 1-drop, and then the Troubadour can sing your strength, which allows you to essentially get the tempo back, which they
That's
said
so
was huge all
crazy.
weekend.
That's so crazy.
Yep.
And Sky did
And
it on camera.
Troubadour's not going to take that much focus either, because it's only really strength. It's not like you're sitting there, oh, I got to take out this Troubadour because I don't want to get Zeused. It's just strength. So you focus on other things, and it It's just gonna do its job.
It has a lot of merit to improve. The biggest knock against AS and why it died down in the second weekend was, well, it doesn't win on the draw as well as the other top decks. Like Troubadour, I think that goes a long way to solving that.
I think Rhino is also a pretty decent way of catching back up on the draw. Like it shouldn't typically happen, but if they Daisy and you Rhino, if they're stupid enough to quest and you shift Rhino, kill it, you're getting tempo back real quick.
Unlike the Dave list, I think this is probably going to be what you would consider more of a stock Amber Seal for the moment. It's a little bit smoother to play. It's a little bit easier in terms of like lines. I think Troubadour itself is just kind of a very annoying card. Blurple has quite a difficult time banishing it. So, and 4 Peats, I think 4 Peats is kind of like a necessary thing as well. So,
well, especially with how popular Green Blue is about to get.
Yes,
Pete is a very important
be
card.
Like a lot better now that Green Blue's
and
in the
here's
meta.
Kurt's list. The major difference is just Lawrence and Sven, no be our guest, and then When Will My Life Begin?
Yeah, but also still on Troubadour, and he's only on 14 ones instead of the full 16.
Yeah. Which I think is fine. I'm not sure you need the full suite of hooks if you're still having Rhino.
When I was doing the math on 1-drops, 12 is actually, like, if you're playing an aggro deck like this and your aim is to quest as much as possible, one of the lines that you do want to look for isn't just Nala or Troubadour or something on 2. It's actually double 1. So you want to go 1-on-1 and then 2 ones on 2. And to be able to do that more consistently, 14 to 16 ones is the better play. 14 was the kind of the sweet spot when we were playing green purple and you wanted to triple 1. So I like that Kurt's on 14 ones.
Yeah, Ink Inc was a good event. It was very fun. So there was like a little bit of a hiccup though with the actual event in terms of so it was a 9-round event, and that's cool. It was actually like
I heard this.
Awesome that it was going to be like a long event, good prep for like Milwaukee, Bologna, things like that. But I didn't realize this, and maybe this might have been mentioned, so maybe I missed it, but I didn't realize that they were cutting to top 16 and that in beginning of the day they said top 16 would take place on Sunday. So
yeah, I knew it was top 16. I thought that it was going to be the next day.
And so, myself included,
because what they told us was like the mall had to close at a certain time, and we got started late. So
myself included, I know Dick Burns also said this too. But like a lot of us were like, well, listen, if we were lucky enough to make the top 16 and it was the next day, we're just gonna have to drop because we're not coming back for Sunday. Not that Sunday had an Infinity event and I would have loved to played. I just didn't have the time for it. But overall, the entire event was actually really fun and good people for the most part. Everybody had a good time. Like seeing everybody was great. You should pull up the group pic, dude. That'd be great.
Oh yeah. I'll pull up the
revised one.
The final edit one. Yeah.
Oh yes, of course.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I wanted to play in the Infinity event as well, but my plane got canceled Thursday evening. They rescheduled me to fly in at get in there at 7:30, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But I went down with 8 other of my local teammates, so I drove with some of them, but they were driving back on Sunday, so I couldn't play in the Infinity event anymore.
So I don't know if we want to hop straight into Infinity, but Infinity was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, in terms of balance, in terms of what people were cooking. I think it's such on the surface of people really haven't dove deeply into it yet, especially maybe when we come to an Infinity DLC. We have 2 more sets, so it'd be really cool. But the Infinity vibes were sick.
Someone made a comment that the bans didn't need to happen; they just needed to release set 8 sooner.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I was talking with someone, and I was like, well, we didn't have set 8 to check. The speed of Amber Steel increased, levers got added, and some other tools got added. So
yeah, I forgot what SSG's top cut for the Infinity event was, but it was mostly Amber Steel aggro. It was Amber Steel aggro, Kiwi.
And Tiago again.
And purple steel with Tiago.
Green purple
Oh
discard.
no, he's green purple discard, right? And he played purple
Yeah.
steel for the set 9 event, right?
Yeah,
so
the set 9.
Tiago told me like 3 months ago before the event, he's like, I'm just gonna lock in green purple discard and just do.
Oh yeah, we locked that in a while.
It's
Yeah,
like-
because both of us had independently come to the conclusion before the Hiram and Force Sphere bans that green purple was the best deck at that time.
Mhm.
And then the bans happened and we were still playing it, but then we just moved off. We were like, oh, we'll just go back to that.
So
So there's a top 4 in Infinity as well then, right? Where it's like red, blue, blue steel, amber steel, green, purple.
So I'd even argue that red blue might not even be in that top decision. It was definitely the most SSG, and it's still obviously something I would probably sleeve up and play. But I want to say like it was in the finals of the Infinity event for Ink Inc, but it was items. It wasn't like hybrid or like shark or anything like that.
I would also throw in dogs.
Dogs with
Because having still like Rapunzel, Kit, and Cricky is
well,
very
Lizard
strong.
Kitty
It
owned with
is.
dogs got into top 8. So if I had to pick like the best 3 decks for Infinity, I'd probably say Blue Steel. I'd probably say Amber Steel Aggro, and then Amber Steel Songs maybe. Like I think like it's hard to put into words, but like the Amber Steel deck getting
Steel
Nala
Song.
and Piglet for aggro is crazy. And also Beyond the Horizon was very, very impactful in our testing with me and Justin. Like Beyond the Horizon really messed up red blue in terms of like let me draw my whole deck.
Yeah, because the new cards
Oh,
are what
yeah.
like Namari and Beyond the Horizon, pretty much in the blue
Right.
steel.
And Namari's
Yeah.
unkillable for the most part in terms of like Sisu and things like that. But so my day in Infinity was I played against green yellow discard, and then I played against Kiwi, and then I played against 3 or 4 red blue mirrors, I think, and then Kiwi again. Like so I dodged it, but I dodged the aggro, but apparently it was just murdering red blue like left and right.
Yeah, I guess this is the other thing I got to remember is that like we've lived so long in a world where you say colors and it means a deck. And in Infinity, I think we're going to have to start coming up with deck names because
Yep.
like with Amber Steel, you've got Steel Song and you've got Hyper Aggro. With green purple, it's probably going to be mostly Diablo discard, but there's a chance that there could be a tempo deck that exists. But
I mean, even in set 8, Primor had that GP list that was kind of like a hybrid of. I'm not going to say mine explicitly because he was probably working on it, but a list I had worked on and a list that Artifacts worked on. It was kind of like taking the best parts of both, and he finished first at some event with it, and it was just fast Merfolk Flanagan, just
Yeah.
doing
I don't
doing
think
old
we'll
stuff.
see the peak of Infinity until the Indianapolis.
Indianapolis
Yeah,
in June
That's
of
gonna
next
be-
year.
Yeah.
March.
So
I believe.
the problem is
Is it June?
Somewhere.
testing for Infinity is so difficult in terms of like the depth that you want to go to, right? You have like a good canvas that where you could start, but actually testing Infinity kind of sucks, right? Because you're like core is what everybody wants to play right now.
Yeah.
But unless you have an event coming up, like I don't know, me and Justin probably put more time into Infinity than a lot of other people. And like, I mean, Justin obviously did really well with his Infinity event. But
Justin crushed. Yeah, he did
He
really
did.
well.
and he only lost to the eventual winner, which was Wochuk, right? So and that
Yeah.
was playing songs. And so, Amber Steel was still doing its thing. So
I felt so bad for the two of you. We were all so excited for rotation, and there was just Justin in a corner every once in a while. I was like, anyone want to play Infinity against me? And then all of a sudden threads popped up for Infinity decks, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. You guys have to like prep for that
well, and
format.
then
It's
they
an
had it at Ink Inc as well. So there was like
Yeah.
some more.
I do think that Infinity will get more. I think this shortened set and a DLC being in it that doesn't have Infinity stuff.
But there is
outside of side events
yeah.
is a reason why. So I bet set 11 will have a more equal sharing of Infinity and constructed exploration.
So I kind of want to like somewhat segue to like upcoming events.
Yeah.
Because I know John here probably wanted to talk about upcoming events, but it's something that I think will be very interesting about how these upcoming events will either lean towards one day being core constructed and maybe one day being Infinity. Because I think that's a trend that a lot of these events are actually trying to do, or or they're trying to be in the good graces of Ravensburger by having like a youth event, a core event, and then an Infinity event to show like they have range, I guess. But
Or this new draft format. But if any, and I'm so sorry, but just with how long I played Magic, I'm just always going to reference this until all of a sudden Lorcana is just like, hey, Magic is trying to do this thing that Lorcana does. But anyway, in the height of SCG tournaments, at the time where there were still Grand Prix and there were also Pro Tours, but like Star City Games had like their own tour at the same time. Traditionally, their events were always Saturday was the tournament, Sunday was like Saturday was like standard or modern or whatever that format was. Sunday was legacy. And so I feel like that's going to be a common pattern in Lorcana now, and I would expect it to become the norm.
I mean,
where day 1 is your tournament, day 2 is legacy or infinity.
well, this looks awesome, right? Like what I'm seeing here, John. Are you going to be judging this event, or are you running this event? What is?
Yeah, so I'm organizing it with Rebecca and Josie, and I'll also be judging it.
Josie, shout out Josie.
Yeah, she does a lot of tournament
SLTC
organizing
manager.
here in the ICL SLTC manager. She does a lot of tournament organizing here in Northern California, and I try to support that as much as possible. But yeah, I think we're planning a good event. And Rick, like you said, a lot of tournaments are exploring, like an Infinity tournament or a junior or youth tournament, and we're not doing it to get into Ravensburger's good graces. We think there really is a demand for this. There's a lot of youth in our area that play Lorcana. We see them at different leagues and stuff like that. So I think there will be a good turnout for that. And Rebecca was such a huge Disney fan, even before Lorcana came out. So I think she'll bring a lot of good energy for the community events. That you see that she has a lot of good ideas for it. So yeah, I think it'll be a good time.
Dude,
if you guys want to fly out and come visit us in California, we'd be happy to see you.
So for those of you that are listening and aren't watching, putting on the screen, there's an event in March that just got announced, Quest Fest. It's March 21st, 22nd, 2026, so a ways away. It's an unofficial event, but it's in Roseville, California. We have a lot of California players in SLTC. We end up where this weird dynamic where we have a lot of people on either coast and then not a ton of people in the middle.
Yeah, you're one of the ones in the middle, Dylan.
Yeah, you're in a rough spot.
Yeah.
Quest Fest is also a great name, by the way.
What do you mean aggro
Yeah,
decks?
Quest Fest is sweet. Probably a lot of aggro decks there, if I were to guess.
Yeah, it's 2 days of Disney Lorcana fun, a main core constructed tournament,
Boomy should show up,
tournament,
dude. He would
junior
own
tournament, Disney Lorcana trivia, nice.
Love it.
Side events, cosplay contest. What's Disney Bound?
Yeah, Disney
Bounding is that something
is
Rebecca's doing?
Yeah, I mean she's going to do a lot of the community events, but the Disney Bound contest, which I think is actually going to be pretty cool, is as far as I know, Disney Bounding is when park goers will dress up similarly to a character. So they won't put on a full-on costume because costumes are not allowed in the Disney parks, but they'll wear sort of like street clothes or like plains clothes in color schemes that match a character.
Okay.
So it's not full-on cosplay. It's not a full-on costume. But it's something that you could wear comfortably in the park. That if someone looked at you, they would say, "Oh, you're Ariel." Yeah. But yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun. And it's interesting to hear you guys talk about Infinity, and I'm really glad to hear that. It sounds like all of you are interested in playing Infinity, and especially as the third DLC in North America approaches, which I believe is in June. More and more people will be practicing for that. Yeah. So I think if our event is in March, I think that's like right about the time that people are going to start really gearing up to practice.
I think there's two pieces.
I'm gonna bring Infinity stuff to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm going to as well, and I think there's a piece. Well, the benefit is, especially if I'm playing green blue in Milwaukee, I can just play all my red purple cards again and have a good time. But I think there's two pieces to Infinity. Number one, people can complain about the fact that we had a lack of DLCs. I'm fine with that. And people can complain that with the lack of DLCs, turning one of them into Infinity sucks. And you have every right to agree with that. However, Ravensburger making an official Lorcana format that is eternal is important. It's extremely important. Modern, before Magic destroyed it, and Legacy were extremely popular formats because you could buy cards, hold them, and you could use them forever. That's an important piece of being able to have rotation in card games.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that there's going to be events that are going to be official that are going to be utilizing the Infinity format. So the Indianapolis DLC and the one that's happening in Europe, I don't actually remember what city it is. But
Dortmund.
I think it's Dortmund. It's either Bochum or Dortmund, and I think it might be Dortmund. Anyway,
Bochum's not even one of the cities.
it's not.
Nope, Ghent.
Well,
Yeah, Ghent and
Ghent.
Dortmund.
Oh, it's Ghent this time. Okay. But regardless, the other thing that's going to make people more interested in Infinity is the longer they stay away from the cards that they loved. Because the reality is right now, no one wants to play Infinity.
Of that plus new cards, right?
Yeah, right.
It's
Like-
could
right-
Powerline right now be fun in an Infinity deck?
Oh,
Could
yeah.
Max
oh, yeah.
Goof be fun in an Infinity deck?
Oh my
could
God,
I do
Max
a
Goof and
green-
Steel? Jesus.
Could I do a green steel Max Goof and keep cycling Strength and Storm and stuff like that? And
Well, you
as
could
they add more cards, it's going to be more interesting
You
like
could
that.
discard a Strength or a Storm for Diablo and then get it back
And
with
then
Max
cycle.
Goof later.
That's nice.
Yup.
That sounds fun.
Right
Anyway,
now, I have like zero interest in Infinity because I'm just like, I don't really feel like dealing with John and Diablo, and I'm glad they're gone. But eventually, give it time, give it a few months, I'll be like, it might be nice to discard people again with those guys.
and then you're gonna have a Shift Diablo played against you and go, oh yeah, I remember why I stopped playing this. Never mind, I'm gonna leave.
Maybe sets 10 and 11 will have more answers for the pesky cards
True.
of our past.
Indeed.
hate these types of cards, but if they have like search your opponent's deck, like name a card, search your opponent's deck for the card, and remove all copies of it, I
Oh.
would love
I'm
Love
down
to get
for
rid of
that.
all
I
your
am
Diablos.
so down
Well,
for that. Give
so-
it to me.
One of my favorite Magic cards is Detention Sphere. Detention Sphere on Diablo. Just clear them
Is
all
that
off
like
that
Yu-Gi-Oh's
green purple list with
Prohibition?
like 4 Diablos on board
Uh,
at once.
It depends. Is Yu-Gi-Oh's Detention Sphere is it's an enchantment, so think of it like
An item
like an
or a
artifact.
location.
Yeah, an artifact or a location in this case. And you play it and you remove a character in play as long as the item or artifact is in play. And
All
then
characters with the same
Yeah.
name, including yours and your opponent's.
yeah, so if you have like 3 Diablos
Wow.
in play, you play Detention Sphere, hit 1 Diablo, you hit all 3.
Prohibition
Yeah,
works
so-
the same way, kind of. But you can do it ahead of time, where you say like, Prohibition, name a card. You cannot use that card at all.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so
Ever.
those cards in Magic are like there's an effect called Surgical Extraction where if there's a card in an opponent's graveyard, you can nab it, exile it from the game, and then search your opponent's hand deck to get rid of it. But there's other ones where you don't, and they're typically not very good unless you're like in a sideboard against combo decks where like you can play it, name a card, and then get rid of it. Like there's ones that are like that, but they didn't see a ton of play. They were always typically negative tempo.
Give us the true answer to Prince John Ravensburger. Then we can
Detention
enjoy
Sphere
him.
was truly like very strong when I played in Standard because the tier 1 deck was a mono black devotion deck that ran pack rats
Yeah.
that would
Yep.
get increasingly stronger the more you had them out. So you would just stop their pack rats and
I played Mono Blue Devotion in Theros Standard, so
yeah, that's what I played too.
yeah,
I love that list so much.
I did too.
Splash some white so you can get Detention Sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a second god that came out in Beyond Theros. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Dylan and I proving once again we're the same person.
Yeah. So it'll be fun to hang out in Milwaukee. I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Oh, it's gonna
Um,
be ridiculous, crazy.
So I guess before we wrap up, because if you haven't noticed, we've lost Dave, we've lost Fumbles. We've been rambling for an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm hoping that my baby stays asleep this time.
Yeah, well, real quick, John, did you have anything else to say about the Quest Fest stuff and that coming up? We got everything, right?
Yeah, no, I think we got everything.
Perfect.
I think it's well positioned between a few of the other DLCs. We mentioned Ghent earlier, and that's at the beginning of March. and the next DLC after that is in Dortmund, which is in June. So I think we fill in a nice little spot there. But yeah, if
you
you're
guys
on-
are
if you're on the
trying
West
to-
Coast,
Does EU get Bologna in October, and then they don't? Their next DLC is not till March.
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah,
I'd have
that
to
makes sense,
check.
right?
Yeah.
If Europe only also has 3 DLCs, yeah.
Because it for NA it's October, January, and then
January.
Yeah.
June. So I didn't
Right.
realize that EU and NA didn't have they didn't share January. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, EU is October, March, June.
Wow.
October
We're
to
gonna have
March,
a lot.
wow.
I wonder
Yeah.
how many EU players are gonna come over for June.
Well,
For
I mean, they're
January.
going to have their
You mean for
they're gonna have
January?
CCQs
January.
spread out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
hopefully
are you
that'll
trying to
tighten them up.
are you trying to hope that QuestFest gets a CCQ?
You know, I think I think our plans are solid. We have DLC judges who are interested. We have DLC commentators who are interested, and we have Lorcana artists who are interested. So I think, and the venue's beautiful. It's spacious. So I think we've got solid plans. So if Ravensburger decided to grant us a CCQ, we'd be incredibly proud, and I think we do them well.
Yeah, because I'm a little. I mean, I guess it's a long period of time, but I'm a little shocked that CCS or Ink Inc didn't get it.
I think it's because it was too
kind of
soon.
I kind of expected one of them to get it. Yeah, but PPG's Denver is this weekend, and they have it, right?
Yes, Denver has it.
I guess it just comes back down to what we talked about earlier, where how, I think they want to, whether they like it or not, they're going to end up setting a precedent. And the precedent is going to be how long after rotation happens do they enable CCQs for official events to allow people to get
Yeah, maybe
cards.
I could see that.
That's the type of precedent, right? Is how long, and it's 3 weeks or a month so far, right? I think it ends up being 3 weeks is this upcoming weekend, right? Since rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I'm Ravensburger and I'm trying to rationalize the decisions that they've made over the last little bit, that to me is the only one that makes sense. Is that how long?
I mean, they had the rule about what was it? Is it 1 week after retail? The DLCs would be
1 or 2, yeah.
2, I think.
Yeah. Oh, 2. Okay.
I guess on the topic of events and on the topic of Denver, and the fact that we talked about an event that's happening all the way in March, before we kind of start talking about Milwaukee and sign off, so upcoming events over the next little bit. So there's the Denver 15K, which is happening the weekend of September 12th, 14th.
The first CCQ.
And the first CCQ.
First North American CCQ.
Yeah, first North American CCQ. And I apologize. A lot of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to try to get EU events, but it's going to end up probably being a little NA biased. Sorry, I live in NA. I'm going to be a little NA biased. My bad. So we've got Glass City 8K, which is happening September 27th to 28th.
I'll be at that one.
We've got, obviously, DLC Bologna happening October 4th and 5th. And then we've got the Lowlands Lore Quest in Belgium, October 11th and 12th. If I remember correctly, that's a CCQ.
I think so.
I don't know for sure. Please don't quote me on that, but I think it is. And then
Which one?
the Lowlands Lore Quest in Belgium, October 11th and 12th.
I don't think that was.
Maybe it's not.
one.
Maybe not.
No,
There's one in Sweden, I
don't think so.
remember.
Okay. I do know that there is CCQ events that have been revealed in EU. I do know that there was a calendar that I'm sure Pete is what he's currently looking for right now as he's flashing Google searches. But and then we get into what I consider is the event that most of us are looking the most forward to, if anything to play in, but also to see everybody and visit, is Milwaukee, October 25th, 26th. There is a beer fest, a German beer fest happening in Milwaukee that same weekend.
wow.
I'm kind of stoked. I want to do that. I know Fumbles has talked a little bit about that, so Rick and I might be going drinking some beer Saturday night when we don't make top whatever.
Me
make
too.
day 2.
Yeah, top cutting.
Sure.
I guess we should talk about that a little bit, right? So on the topic of Milwaukee, they changed the format slightly.
Oh, they did pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which I
guess
think was a good pivot.
it was a
I
good
like
pivot,
it.
but it should have been what it was originally. So, okay, for those of you that don't know, Milwaukee, when they first announced the DLCs, they announced the promos. And when they announced the promos, they announced the Pegasus was the Participate promo, Mulan was the 5-win promo, which was a weird one we had never seen, and then Simba was top 64? Top 32?
64.
Top 64. And then if you made top 32, I think it's Elsa, or maybe it's top 16. I don't know. I think Elsa's the same tier that Rapunzel is, so maybe it's top 16. Anyway, doesn't matter. The key point is to keep in mind that what I talked about was Mulan was a 5-win promo. That appears to either is no longer the case or is the case with a caveat now. When they first announced this, there was no official, you need to make this record in order to make day 2. So what you could do is, if you wanted the Mulan promo, and you were like 2-6 going into day 2, you could still
You're
play
still
the next
alive
day,
for that. Yeah.
and you could try to win 3 rounds to get your Mulan promo. That appears to be no longer the case because it seems that there's a day 2 cut, and that day 2 cut is, I think it's after 8 rounds, right?
You have to have 18 points or something like that?
Yeah,
if I
so
recall
it's
correctly?
either 5, 0, and 3, which if you do that, spoiler alert,
I
do
think it was
not
9
draw.
rounds though, day 1, if I remember correctly.
I thought it was 8. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll figure that out later. Regardless, you need a certain point threshold to make day 2. So they may still make Mulan promos 5-win promos. So if you go, let's say it is 9 rounds. If you go 5-4, you'll still get Mulan, but not make day 2. But you're going to need to go, if it's 9 rounds, you're probably going to need to go 6-3 or better in order to make day 2. And that makes sense because that's the only type of record that you can really have in order to make the top 32 cut the next day.
Like, to me, it was silly, the idea that somebody could play to try to go 5 and 8 or 7 to get that promo and go into the
100%.
2.
I've
Like-
never been in a tournament ever where they didn't, if they had a day 2, that there wasn't a threshold to make the day 2 cut.
So I know some people there's going to be folks who may be a bit off put by the idea of missing out on this for that reason, where there's just going to be this cut and they can't get past it. But it wasn't going to be like, I guess from a strict value perspective, it wasn't going to make sense for people to play on in Sunday. You are probably always going to be better served from a
Yeah,
value
side events.
perspective.
Side events.
Doing
Yeah.
side events that were probably gonna, provide more, give you opportunities for other promos. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that really love Mulan, that really want specifically that promo, but it didn't, structurally, I guess, didn't understand.
Yeah. So real quick before we keep talking about Milwaukee, Pete put on the screen.
Yeah, it seems like I found it. It's so Denver we knew about. Stockholm I hadn't heard of. It was Cardiff. That's the one that I was.
And those are the same
Thinking
weekend,
of.
which is surprising. But anyway, Europe's a big area, so that makes sense. But there are 2 the same weekend, one in Stockholm, one in Cardiff. There's one, I apologize, I'm going to butcher this
There's a third
pronunciation.
one on that same weekend, the 27th and 28th.
Is there?
Yeah, it's in France.
Wow,
wow.
that's
Okay.
wild.
So there's one in Utrecht. I don't know if I pronounced that even remotely properly, but November 8th and 9th, and then Wakefield, November 29th and 30th. So those are the CCQs, most of which are in Europe, because they haven't worked with the NA tournament organizers in order to have CCQs in NA yet. So only Denver is the officially confirmed one. Anyway, back to Milwaukee. Yes, I think this does 2 things. It makes side events more popular because you're missing day 2. It makes side events larger, which is going to be better EV if you do well in the side events. And also, it just makes sense. Again, I've never been in a tournament ever where if there's a day 2 cut, you didn't need a specific threshold to make day 2. Like otherwise you're like, the whole point of a day 2 cut is to restrict to the players that are still live for your top cut. And based on what we've done math-wise, to make day 2, to make the top 32, the bubble is 9-3, is what it seems like.
I thought it would be 9-2 or 10-2.
It's extremely unlikely that you're gonna make it at 9-3. Like, when we say bubble, like there's very likely a chance that there's 0 players that make 9-3. But there's a chance that
Or like
9-3,
that one time
Yeah.
Didn't
One-
Sarek make it as one person, as the last part of a bubble or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he got everybody the
Let It Go promo.
The Let It
Let
Go
It Go.
promo by
Yeah.
getting in there.
So there's a chance. It's more likely that 10-2-1 is what the threshold is that you need in order to make top cut. But 9-3 is technically still live, which means again, if we talk about the fact that it's 9 rounds day 1, which I think it might be, it's either 8 or 9. That in order to have you need 6 wins, 6-3 or better to make day 2 make sense.
Well, it's also good that they're doing this so that people can do the side events on Sunday, since there's no side events on Friday.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: if you do make day 2 at 6-3, if that's what the threshold is, it's 9 rounds. If you do make day 2 at 6-3, you are very unlikely to make top 32, because in order to be that person at the top of the bubble, your breakers need to be nuts, which means you need to essentially
You probably need to lose the last 2 rounds and not the rounds that you have lost.
You can still maybe make top 64 though and go for that Simba promo.
Yes,
So
that's
there's
true.
some
You can still go
value
for the other thing.
I need to answer myself this question before I go crazy. Please keep talking.
Wasn't there some talk about extending the count of the DLCs and the top cuts, not for this round, but the next one?
Europe is going to have that, where apparently I
Europe's
believe
been
the second
confirmed.
one is going to be doubled in attendance or something like that, and they were hinting that there could be some more attendance in North America, but they haven't gotten that sorted out yet. Hopefully, they absolutely there's enough demand for a higher attendance. That'll require adjustments, but more attendance is good. Also noteworthy that they're adding Friday side events for all DSUs going forward, which, yes, it was very dumb when Milwaukee did not have that, so I was delighted to hear that. Props for that one.
And continues to not have it, sadly.
I mean, I
okay.
guess they couldn't fix it, but
So
at least
it is 8 rounds of Swiss on day 1, by the way. I have this confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's 8 rounds of Swiss day 1. All players who make the day 2 cut, 18 match points at the end of Swiss rounds, so you need to be 6-2 or better.
Wow.
Technically, 5-0-3 also makes it. Don't do that.
I don't know, if we get some green-blue mirrors, maybe we'll get there.
I mean, yeah, maybe. So, yeah. So that also means that if you do make day 2 at 6-2, you can still make top cut, because if you win 3 rounds, well, you need to win 3 rounds and then draw the last one. 9-2-1. I said a stupid thing earlier. I said 9-3 or 10-2-1. It needs to be 9-3 or 9-2-1. You don't get an extra win somewhere. So 9-2-1 is probably the bubble. Wonder, what's going on?
You're a bubble. What are you talking about?
You were so good at showing up as we're in the middle of wrapping up, and we're probably going to continue for another 15 minutes now that you showed up. We were talking about potential bubbles for Milwaukee. So Joseph thought that 9 rounds was day 1, but it's 8, which means you start and you have to have 18 match points. So you need to finish day 1 6-2 or better in order to make day 2.
That's like old school Grand Prix, I think, for Magic, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only person that talks about Magic as analogies constantly in this podcast. Thank you for immediately showing up and doing one.
Magic filled, what can I say?
I know. It's the same thing for me.
Did you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Quigster?
I did. And it was very similar there, where, I mean, I think they did restrict it where you did reach certain thresholds for day 2. I remember the one major that I did well in, that my first round opponent on day 2 didn't show up. I'm just like, oh, this is sweet.
Yeah. The regional championship that I played in last November, you needed to be 6-3 or better to make day 2. The thing I love about that type of record, I started that regional championship 0-3 and I made day 2. I went through the salt mines. It was great. Every single match I won, I eliminated my opponent, and they were pissed after.
Yeah, it's nice when you don't actually have to worry about tiebreaker math.
No.
And that's the one time that happens. But it does matter for day 2 when they keep the breakers from day 1, and you're like, oh, now I'm bubbling when it's brutal. But
17th and 33rd, Wonder.
I know we're bubble boys together.
Fuck, man, that sucks. But yeah, I'm gonna drink to that.
We do have a CCQ right after Milwaukee.
Do we?
Yeah, the weekend right after DLC Milwaukee, there's a CCQ in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay. Didn't know about that one.
Yeah, so that's another shot for people if they miss their invite in Milwaukee.
Have they confirmed that the CCQs will only ever give one invite?
They said that that's likely, but I think the lorecast said it could give more. So I think it's probably just going to come down to
Attendance?
maybe not attendance, but how the landscape looks as we get through the year.
You got to think that I hope it's not scalable with attendance. You got to think that if they announce an event that has like a 2 or a 4 person invite list, that they would have a lot more people that would want to go to that one.
I think it would blow up.
100%. So interesting how that's going to play out. Because then you have the option, if you end up where you're doing them scalable with attendance, you have the unlikely opportunity that there's just CCQ, there's slots that just don't exist because they don't get enough attendance to hit thresholds. So they're probably going to make them like set amounts for each event.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hope they, go back once again. I've been blessed by it before. Why won't it happen again? Maybe hand out a CCQ invite to people who win 5K Infinity events. I don't know why I might think that, but
Wow.
Did you
I've been blessed before. Give me again.
Did you win the event this weekend? I knew you top 8'd. I didn't realize you won.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
I won a giant
done.
Elsa.
Well done.
I'm sure Botsu is just please God, let the previous PPG events count as
Retroactive.
CCQs. Poor bugger.
You know what? I get it. I kept hoping last season. I was like, maybe they'll retroactively make top 32 qualify.
Some of the things you were hoping for last year were you were pipe dreaming last season.
Opium is real.
Yeah.
Then there was one point where Joey Q slid into my DMs like, "Oh, I think you're gonna get it passed down," and I'm like, I don't think so. I wasn't that good in Chicago.
I thought I mistook that one.
Yeah.
I definitely
there was definitely a time where I was like, I was 22nd. I finished 22nd in Chicago, so I thought final seeding or final finish would have been how the pass down would work, but it was based on Swiss, and I was 55th.
The benefit that I had, the only benefit that I had in Toronto is that when first and second were eliminated after I won my top 64 match and DKP, so there was 3 people that if they won their round, I was almost guaranteed a pass down. And at that point, my wife was 3 months pregnant. And so when I was like, I'm going to go to Disney for Continentals in December when she's due in February, this is a pipe dream. So I literally played my top 32 match with zero pressure. I'm like, I know I'm going to get a pass down, and I don't even know if I can go to Continentals. So whatever, let's just play. I ended up going, and yeah, it was a good time. Anyway, I want to talk about Infinity a little bit longer because I didn't realize Wonder won, and we have his deck list on the screen. And you played Blue Steel because why wouldn't you when you are testing the entire weekend with Sky? That makes a ton of sense.
They swapped my Tamatoas.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Or I accidentally submitted the wrong deck list. Also possible.
You shouldn't admit
Let me
that.
check myself.
You shouldn't admit
that. It's afterwards.
He posted them. He also posted his picture.
Yeah, I did post the picture of my deck
list.
Right,
but we submitted them. So Ink Inc had us submit them through Ink Decks, and I know that while I was massaging some of the data for some spreadsheets, that some people had
totally
decks in there multiple times.
Deck list. I definitely.
DQ.
Wow, if I had gotten deck checked, I would have gotten a game.
No! Wonder! You can't admit that shit.
Oh,
why can't I not? It wasn't malicious. It's unfortunate that happened.
Random deck check at every tournament from now on.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my goodness.
But if you got caught in a later round, wouldn't that be a DQ?
If you got it, if you got it in top, if you get it in top 8, it's just a game loss. Even still. The only way it would be DQ'd is if
normally a game loss.
And it's a good thing we have a judge here. I think there's a few different clauses for when your deck doesn't match up to what your submitted list is.
If he was playing with 59 cards the whole weekend,
well, I think
that's
it matters about 60 or less cards. I think it matters about having a card that's completely not in your list, and I think it matters about if I have the wrong count of a card that's in my list.
Or if you're playing 5.
John, is any of that correct?
This only happens because they have the same name.
Yeah, without diving super deep into it, I believe Luke's would have been a deck registration error minor, for which the corrective action is just a warning. So
there you go.
That
Wonder
doesn't
everything's
matter
fine.
whether it's top 8 or not.
I've done this a lot in my life, and for the Magic heads, when Orborg first got printed in Plane Shift or whatever, I definitely just wrote Orborg, and then I remember looking at like the state's deck lists, and it linked to some card from Legends. I was just like, "What is this?" Like,
well, it's the same thing in Standard. So there's 2 things that both changed. Rules changed because of this crap. So, when Sheoldred the Apocalypse was super popular, there was people that were writing just Sheoldred in the deck list, and there is a card called Sheoldred, and so they were getting deck reg errors because they were in Standard at the same time. But then there's the infamous Pithing Needle, where there's Borborygmos versus Borborygmos Enraged, and when the guy said Borborygmos, and the guy was like, "Judge," he said Borborygmos, I don't have Borborygmos in my deck, it's Borborygmos Enraged, so I can still use this card. And the judge went, yeah. And so it's intent.
Gotta be precise.
It's intent of the law, not letter of the law.
Now, just a quick clarification while we're on this topic. Somebody in the Green Blue thread made a joke about, like, well, what if we just ran 5 Shift Clarabelle, and then, like, maybe we get caught later on and the offense is only a minor? Would that be, like, it was a joke. It was a joke, to be clear, but just curious. If you ran an extra copy of a card accidentally...
Joseph is asking for science and science only.
Science and science only. Would that be a minor or more?
Yeah, so if you accidentally have a 5th card of the same thing, but the deck you submitted shows 4, so if you show a legal deck that you've submitted and the deck that you're playing with doesn't match that, then you'd have to match your physical deck to the deck that you submitted, and then that would be a minor.
But 5 copies is not a legal deck anymore, right? So.
Okay, I have a question while we're on this topic.
Interesting.
Hypothetically, if your deck, if you went an entire tournament and you played 5 Sudden Chills, and you didn't notice until the very end of the tournament when they went to go take a picture of your deck list, and you realized that you had 5 Sudden Chills in your deck and only 3 Peats, is that just... This happened in our locals, by the way. Someone won our...
Why are you targeting us discard players? I feel like you've got a vendetta here.
I feel so bad, but and he felt so bad that he immediately was like, I no longer am getting the prizing. I'm giving my prizing to second place. Like, he felt so bad about it. But yeah, he went the entire tournament playing 5 Sudden Chills and 3 Peats instead of 4 Peats and 4 Sudden Chills.
Yeah, let me just touch back on what Joseph was asking about having 5 copies. So if the player catches it themselves, then it would be a minor. If it was caught by somebody else, then that's probably going to be a major. So Dylan, you're saying a player only realized that they had 5 of and then a 3 of after the whole tournament is over?
Right. So at the end of the tournament, so we've changed our rules locally now because of this player. So at the end of the tournament, we would always lay our decks out and take pictures of the top of the winner's deck, and that would go on our social media for the store. And so when they went to go lay it out, they realized they had 3 Peat and 5 Sudden Chills as they went to lay out their deck after they played the whole tournament and won the tournament. And so now locally, when you make top 8. And this is even the funnier story. So now after top 8, once you qualified for top 8, everyone always lays out their deck, takes a picture. that ensures that the deck was legal, and then they have a picture of all the decks for social media, and then when the winner gets, they post the winner's deck list. When we did it again this set championship, a different player, as they went to lay it out, was like, I'm just missing a goofy. I played the whole tournament with 59 cards.
That seems much more realistic to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once the tournament is over, there's, if it's not suspected that it's any kind of cheating, then I would say, then it just stands. This is reason why, deck checks for top cut can be a good thing. But there's the whole topic of courtesy checks not being effective. If you announce, oh, we're going to do a deck check after Swiss before top cut, sometimes that
They just change it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's not going to be very effective. But going back to Luke's swapped counts for the Tamatoas, I wanted to mention too that so in the case that Luke has what he wants to play, I forget which one he wanted to play 4 of the Happy as a Clam, and then 3 of the set 1 Tamatoas, but his deck list submitted was flipped. So that if that's caught in the deck check, there's 2 ways to go about it, which will result in a different corrective action. If Luke wants to match his physical deck with the deck list he submitted, that would just be a warning. But if he wants to change his deck list to match what he really intended, which is what he physically brought, then that would be a game loss. Because anytime you have to change your deck list for any reason, that will be a major. So in that case, Luke probably would have been given the option. Depending on the judge, maybe the judge won't even explain the difference of choice to Luke and say, well, Luke, what do you want to do? And if Luke says, oh, well, I want to play what I brought, so I'm just going to change my deck list, and the judge might say, okay, well, then that's a game loss. So I don't know what a judge would do in that case. In local tournaments that I've had something like this happen, and I presented the player with both possibilities and both corrective actions so that they could choose which one. They chose to go with matching their physical deck to their deck list just to incur the warning.
Here's a random question. So imagine that my deck was discovered during a deck check in the rounds that I was IDing. And we had already discussed IDing, and we ID'd while we were getting deck checked. And you came back, and I had said I would do the one that would give me a game loss. What would happen there? Would that game loss happen during the draw, the next round?
Yeah, that one's that's a pretty complicated one for a bunch of reasons. But typically, this specific situation aside, typically if a game loss, if a player incurs a penalty of a game loss between matches, that game loss will be applied to the next game that they would play.
Okay, so it would go for the next round.
Yeah, that's my understanding. But your specific case, you're asking about a deck check when you and your opponent had agreed to ID.
Now, yeah, I think your match is already over at that point if you've agreed to ID, right? Because you've kind of logged it. So
yeah,
it would be the next one.
Or it. Yeah, so you could look at it that way, that the match is already done, but also you didn't play any games, right? So if you're agreeing to intentionally draw, then my thought is that because you didn't play any games, there was never a time when you presented your deck to your opponent, right? And so deck check should only happen once a player has already presented their deck to their opponent. So if you've never presented your deck to the opponent,
you wouldn't have been there for the deck check.
What deck is even being checked?
I've never been deck checked. It's judges are like waiters at restaurants. They always wait to ask how your meal is going until after you've taken a bite. Judges never go to submit the deck checks until both players have essentially presented their decks, and then all of a sudden the judges will come in and go, "You've been selected as random deck check," and then they grab everything and run away.
That makes perfect sense. It's to prevent people from claiming, "Oh, I accidentally didn't sideboard," at least in Magic.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Lorcana tournament rules say decks should be checked after shuffling has completed, but before opening hands are drawn. So in your case, intentionally drawing, you've never shuffled up to play a game because you ID'd. 0 games are played, so there was never a time that shuffling has been complete and then before, opening hands are drawn. So
like in the case of DLCs, the deck checks always happened at the beginning of top 64, and penalties were always assessed for the next match based on that deck check, if I remember correctly.
I don't
I mean,
remember.
in DLCs they deck check during Swiss at times.
Yeah,
Well,
yes,
no,
there are
I
also
know.
random
Yeah,
ones.
I was randomly deck checked during Swiss, but I'm just saying that I just remember that there was penalties and or rectifying actions done before the top 64 happened when they did deck checks. Like, you're missing a card, your sleeves are marked, like all that stuff beforehand, before games were played to make sure that things were. Because I know in Toronto, a couple people had to re-sleeve. Dale had to answer a question about foiling and double sleeving. Oh man, every DLC I feel so bad for Dale. Whenever the judges were like, "Okay, leave your deck with us," it's like I need to see you take this deck and take it to the judges area because this thing is like all foiled, all enchanted. Like it was so funny just watching him like stress out until they like took it away. Shout out to Dale.
I mean, could
Yeah.
you imagine that, like, dressing up as a judge and having like a group go by and just steal like 5 people's decks?
Oh,
like,
no, I couldn't imagine.
Oh, don't put that in people's
Don't
heads.
get any ideas
that's
from us.
happened at Yu-Gi-Oh events, I swear.
That's
I've
a
heard
great
rumors
way
of
to-
Not
that's
in
a-
a DLC.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very dark, or was a very
My
dark place.
Dumbos!
I swear it sounds bad
Yeah.
now.
That's a great way to segue into wrapping up this podcast. And like I said, Wonder's going to show up. We're going to talk about 15, 20 minutes, and he put us on this gigantic tangent about deck techs.
Because
This
I'm
was
an
fun.
idiot.
This was fun. I'm
Don't
glad.
crucify me if I got any of these wrong. It's hard to come up with rulings on the spot.
Yeah.
Appreciate you entertaining it.
Yeah. So, okay.
Out of crazy lore, though.
Yeah. Okay. That about does it. Thanks everyone for listening. We will hopefully have a few more of these before Milwaukee, and I do believe that there's quite a few of us that do the SLTP that are. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because my wife
That
just
are
came home.
going to Milwaukee.
That are going to Milwaukee. We're staying in the same house, so live in location. SLTP
Ooh, live in
in
location.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I'm super excited to do that one. So, yeah, thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Like,